It's that kind of issue, huh? How's it going? How's it going? How's it going, folks? The end cab shirt is out. Very slow Volvo over there. It's like it's breaking under immense weight or something. So I think I want to talk about fake libertarians and fake ANCAPs. The term I want to use for these is LINO, which is capital L-I-N-O, libertarians in name only. So obviously I've extracted that from rhino, which is a word that was going around more towards the 2017 era, where people would describe a Republican in name only, for those people who were avid about Republicans being a good thing at the time. Things have changed a little bit since then, I think, for me. So yeah, I'm an ANCAP, sort of a libertarian, a bit stronger than a libertarian in thought process. I don't know what stronger is not the word. More pure is not the word either. More radical. More, you can't even call it more extreme because it's like a centrism. It's a moderate position to believe in freedom politics and to fight for your freedom and the ability to defend yourself and stuff. So yeah, but I think we're starting to reach some sort of critical mass on fake libertarians and fake anarchists, where we are spotting more and more people calling themselves libertarians and anarchists who aren't, and a lot of it is that they just don't believe in freedom advocacy, and they actually do simp for the state, and they do want collectivism and all this. And I want to cite a few examples that I can think of about this, especially because I got into a bit of a argument last night where someone I'd been following for a long time, who I thought was like a base ANCAP, just suddenly started coming out with like feminism. I'm like, oh, sorry, I thought you were like an individualist. It turns out you're a collectivist identity politician all of a sudden. Like, they never said anything of the sort before, and they're still claiming they're not a feminist, but they just literally started talking about they believe in toxic masculinity, which is only something that feminists and far leftists talk about. So it's obvious that this is a feminist and not a freedom advocate. We'll go into that in a sec. Where's my blue sky? There's hardly any of it. So should we dip in some basic stuff that ANCAPs and libertarians are meant to believe? And I would say even libertarians believe in this. Zero state. The complete absence of a government is what we push for, not what we have, obviously, but what we want. And that includes libertarians. Some people say, oh no, a libertarian's a thing that wants a government. It just wants, like, a mild government, so it's minarchism. Minarchism being, we should shrink government, and we should have a small government, and that will fix the problem. No. No, man. Even a small government, or any amount of government, can still tax you, can still lock you down for emergencies, can still use the police and the army against you to enforce whatever laws it comes up with. No, you can't even be a minarchist to get the job done. So I would say there are a lot of fake libertarians around in that way we can start with, because, you know, minarchism just won't work. And if you're saying you're a libertarian, but you're a libertarian party, so there's an obvious one, is all the libertarian political parties are not real libertarians, because why would you be a libertarian? True libertarian wants no state, wants no taxes, wants no police, you know, wants to be able to self-govern, police yourself, police via business, like trade. You call a local militia, you pay them to be your bodyguard and defend you as a local community thing, but you are defending yourself with arms. So Second Amendment of the Constitution of the US in general is a bad thing, but the pieces of it right at the top, the free speech one, which is 1A, the right to gun ownership, which is 2A, and I haven't looked too deeply into the others, but some people like the fourth. I'd have to look into that. you know, there are pieces in that constitution that you could use to build a new constitution. I would actually put one higher than those two. Maybe the Second Amendment should be the highest entry, because it defends the First Amendment anyway. If you have gun rights, then you have free speech rights. But the thing that should be right at the top of the constitution, say in Ancapistan, like the future era where ANCAPs and Libertarians get their way, would be do not violate property of others. And yeah, that could result in forfeiting of your own life if you violate the property of others, and do not cease when told to stop immediately. I would say that if there's a constitution that's worth having that strips bits out of the US Constitution, it would be like those three things pretty much. But they wouldn't be like enforced by government. They would be encouraged as a kind of duty. It would not be enforced by government because there would be no government. It would be encouraged in the people, and some of it would come naturally, like, because once you arm every citizen, like you give them, regardless of their level of poverty, or, I mean, obviously there have to be guns that are affordable to the poorest of people. Everyone will be made richer by the government not existing because there'll be no tax upon people, and you have no idea how many taxes there are upon us if you're a normie. The ANCAPs know just how many different kinds of taxes are levied upon the average person. Imagine all that money being confiscated from the government elites and all that money being back in the hands of the public. There would be, just as a matter of course, there would be less poor people around. Anyway, the poorest of the poor should be able to afford the most basic firearm. Therefore, you arm the entire populace. That includes, so you fully arm the poor. You even arm people with mental health issues. So all these regulations and checks that you get in America for firearms, blah blah blah. Some of it's like safety, some of it's like, oh, we have to check that you're not mentally deranged before we give you a gun. That problem will sort out itself, trust me. Once you give everyone a gun, including those with mental issues, that something Darwinian will happen there. And, you know, if there will be the people with the mental disabilities who fuck up completely with their gun, and they'll probably perish pretty fast. And there'll be the mental people with disabilities who are able to manage life to some extent, and they will probably have their gun and they'll be able to defend themselves with it, and they'll be sensible with it, because you can't group all people with mental disabilities into one amorphous blob. There are some people who, you just say a guy with depression. I mean, most people I think have depression. You can't just say we're going to take away your gun rights and your right to defend yourself just because you're sad in life to the point where the sadness is so extreme that you're depressed. Oh, you've had so many bad things happening to you, your mental suffering is this extreme that we're not going to let you defend yourself. Why? Because it's mental health issues. You've got a track record of having mental conditions in the past. No guns for you. Like, what? Like, that's insane. Like, things like social anxiety would be considered like a mental illness. There are also, there's a huge amount of different things contained within mental illness. So no, you should arm even the people with mental conditions. It's such a broad term. And that situation will sort itself out, trust me. Because the people who use the guns to violate property will soon find out that most people don't like their property being violated, and the net result of that is that they will defend themselves with the deadly force that they now have, that the government was keeping from them for years. And, that problem will sort itself out. You'll have less of those. It's like the other problem of what happens to the commies once you get an Ancapistan era situation where there is no government at all, and it is everyone's duty to remove the head of the Hydra, no matter if it regrows a head. Get rid of the government, get rid of anything that resembles a government or that tries to be a government that intends to rule over everyone and tax them specifically. And once the people know how to do that, you preserve the state of the Ancapistan era, and it keeps going. And, you know, there will be communists in Ancapistan. Like, going into the era of Ancapistan, i.e. you remove all government, remove all taxes. Obviously far leftists and far rightists, if you want to call them that, probably better these days to call them something more specific. The identitarian right, the authoritarian right, the NRX monarchists, the tradcons, conservatives, you know, all those will still exist. You know, you can't go into the era with no government and expect all conservatives to disappear or all communists to disappear. They're still going to be there, they're still going to be living with you, but they're going to have to get used to the fact that suddenly there's no government, and that there's a general movement of a lot of people to remove government now that they are fully armed, and they've realised the benefit of being a lot richer by not having to pay any taxes. And they've realised they quite like not needing to pay any taxes, which is, I don't know why I'm saying paying, because taxation is theft. The act of taxation is the government stealing money off working people while it itself does not work, and paying the police to keep that situation going over and over in perpetuity. The conservatives will still exist. They'll probably be wiser about it. The communists will still exist, and the conservatives will try and get a government, I think, maybe until they see the benefits of paying no taxes and that. And some of them are into gun rights anyway. So there's nuance there. But the communists, the far left, the socialists, they're defined in their very nature by the property violation of other people. So there will be this period of turmoil when the Ancapistan is instated, which is another way of saying when all government is removed and there's a void preserved at the top. There will be a period where lots of communists try to create a government, lots of communists band together, and they will get given the guns, because everyone will get given the guns, but their MO is to violate property, which is not something that most people like, I think. And they will hurl themselves at people's doors, and they will try and get over barbed wire fences. They will try and conquer land. They will try and get into people's houses with the guns. Lots of things like this will happen. And they will find themselves defended against by the guns that everyone else has. And the violators, the ones that cause the aggression first, the ones that steal and break into people's houses, will meet castle doctrine in its strongest form, and there will just be, there will be a period of turmoil where the communists will go from doing what they do to doing what they do in this new world, and realizing that they can't be doing that because too many of them will die, essentially, and they'll realize they need to stop doing that. And that will put an end to that. They realise that when they do this thing, cross this boundary, take this thing, or whatever, that people will not like that. And those people who don't like it will now have the ability to defend themselves with deadly force. And that will be the fear factor that is like the... What's the nuclear thing? Where you get the nuclear... Is it MAD? M-A-D? Mutually Assured Destruction? The nuclear deterrent. That's it. Where, you know... How to preserve peace between nations? You have nukes, they have nukes. That's how it works. If you can speak softly and carry a big stick is another phrase to use. If you can assure people that you have a deadly weapon and that you're willing to use it to stop them, shall we say, if they do something terrible, or if they do something that the person doesn't like, if you can assure them that you're ready to use it and you will use it, but you mostly plan on not intending to use it, but you don't tell them that, then, you know, that threat preserves the peace and actually creates a situation where neither side actually want conflict, but both have the ability to create the conflict if they want to. They have that choice there, that, you know, just the conflict doesn't happen in the end, because there's so many more things you could be better doing to use your time. Anyway, I'm going off topic, but that's some basic ANCAP stuff. ANCAP is individualism. ANCAP is not collectivism. You can't have identity politics with ANCAP. All that stuff I've been fighting for before with the anti-SJW days, you know, against feminism, against the far left, against all these like radical trans activist harpies screeching, against the BLM rioters. These are political collectivist movements using identity politics, which is to say, most of the time it's they use an immutable characteristic, something you can't do anything about that you're born with. Say you're born black, say you're born a woman, say you're born a man, say you're born white. These are called immutable characteristics. You can't do anything about them to change them. No matter what the trans people say, you can't change properly 100% fully from male to female or female to male. And there's some people who believe you can change from black to white. And I'm not talking about Michael Jackson, that was an illness thing. But there have been people called like transracialists. Their name blanks on me, but there was a certain woman who tried to do that. And lots of people push for that shit in little ridiculous sounding ways, that black people can be white or white people can be black or something. These are identity politics. As soon as you give away your individualism to the group, you say, I am part of this group and we all believe this thing and we all act as one, and I will defend them against your tribal group because my tribal group believes X, and like we are the tribal group who is all about women, and you must join our tribal group to truly defend women. If you are a real woman, then you'll join the collectivist woman group. That's what feminism is. Like, there's atheism plus, which is different from being an atheist, which is like, you can truly be a non-believer in God if you join our collectivist movement that doesn't believe in God. Then you, and only then, can you truly not believe in a deity. It's like, no. You don't need to join these collectivist political movements to believe what you believe. BLM, Black Lives Matter, this group of far-left activists who likes to burn down black businesses and pretend they're fighting for black people's rights. You must join, all the black people, come to the black people collectivist group. If you join the group, then you can be truly pro-black people against all the other people, like the white people, if you join our group. So that's collectivism. Ayn Rand, the objectivist, was against it. A lot of anarchism and libertarianism shares some common ground, a lot of common ground, I'd say, with Randian objectivism, although slightly different. But it's just generally good practice in life to be an individualist, and people come up with this bullshit term like, oh, if you're an individualist, then you're on your own, you're all alone, you don't call for help from other people, and you don't cooperate with people, and there's no teamwork. It's atomized individualism. Like, no, that doesn't exist. That's like something you've made up in your head. It's basically far-left propaganda. Even far-right propaganda, because the right are also collectivist in a lot of circles, like the identitarian groups in Europe and that. Like, they're also collectivists, and the monarchists, I believe, to some extent have a lot of collectivism as well with them, and that's what we should be against, I think. So you can't really be a freedom advocate and ask for the liberty of people, the liberty of yourself and the liberty of those around you, so long as they don't encroach upon your liberty, if you're a collectivist. So I think all this should be simple shit that everyone should get, but because it's not, and because we're some sort of minority for some fucking reason, which I never thought would be possible, we have to explain this shit. We have to come up with ways to explain this to the normies and to the statists. But okay, we'll try. It also helps to keep people who are supposedly on your own team. I mean, team sounds like a collectivism, doesn't it? It helps to keep people who supposedly have similar views to you and want similar things, like the freedom of others, to explain them what they're missing and why. Because if we don't get to the stage where we're all at least pointing in the right direction without being a group, and we're all trading with each other, and we all want to have our right to self-defense and all that, in order to get that, we do cooperate, Individualists aren't just like lone wolf people who keep to themselves and don't talk to other people and do things on their own. Individualists cooperate with each other for a time limit and for a goal, but they can disband at any point because it's a consensual cooperation. It's a voluntary cooperation, and it's something you can pull out of at any time if you want, whereas collectivism's not like that. Like, you get into the group, you get put into the group, no matter what happens to the group, you're meant to stay with it. You will be shamed for thinking you can leave the group, even if they achieve their goal or never achieve the goal, or if there's no time limit set on the group's aims, the group will keep going indefinitely and dragging people into it, even when it has zero purpose anymore. Individualism isn't like that, but it doesn't mean you're not working with other people. The best way to work with other people is the trade. You do something for me, I do something for you. We consensually agree to that. We decide also what the value is and whether we think the value of the thing we're trading with you is proportional or not. Like, it's not, the value is not like equality, it's not like equal, and it's not like set by someone or by everyone. Man, I hope that captured that last bit of video, but the GoPro overheated proper hot. Which brings to mind that maybe I should be doing some of these vlogs by stream or something, or by water, because the rivers around here are quite cold, and you can just, because it's a waterproof camera, I could dunk it in the stream, and then it would just chill it and destroy the whole overheating problem instantaneously. But I'm not near a water source right now. Anyway, I might continue this on the other camera, so check that. Yeah, I think I can see some bars there. Oh, it's such a nuisance, especially not having a forward-facing view for LCD on the big cam here, and obviously the camera looks like it's zoomed in, but it's just not as wide angle. I haven't quite learned how to streamline my thoughts on the topic because there's so many things you could talk about and defend ideology-wise. So we strayed into individualism versus collectivism there. But yeah, there are libertarian parties, but you can't be a libertarian or an anarchist if you advocate for the state in terms of wanting to be a political party that gets a vote, therefore wanting voting, therefore wanting elections for the purpose of getting your political party into power, therefore creating a government, which is a state, and being the power, being the head of that government, which then taxes the people, takes away their gun rights, uses a police force to govern over them, therefore taking away the public's right to self-govern and self-defend, and everything that the state wants to implement requires money, and the state doesn't earn its own money, it doesn't generate wealth via trade, it doesn't do any work, so it steals all the money that it needs via taxation of the public, which is theft from actual working people who are generating wealth via trade. So yeah, why would you think you're a real libertarian if you're a libertarian party? There shouldn't be libertarian parties. You can have a libertarian meetup group, not a collectivist group, but a, like, do you guys consensually want to come and hang out and we'll talk about libertarian things on this date at this time? You can pay us money so we can hold the venue for you to come in, paid tickets. You can pull out at any time. You don't have to have a membership or anything to the party or the group. That wouldn't be a libertarian party, of course. That would just be, it wouldn't even be a libertarian group. It would just be like, this is a bunch of people asking you if you want to do a thing, sort of thing. And those people, who are a bunch of people, aren't together perpetually bound by identity politics or anything. The lamb's thinking it should get up now. It's getting up. Oh, it's making its bar. It's trying to work out. I think that was its mother that yelled over its shoulder. They're unsteady on their feet. I think they're newborns. God, it can't walk very well. Okay, so then you've got the libertarians who go off spouting all the libertarian talking points as if they believe in it, but they are already a member of state. So Javier Milei got people like Javier Milei. He's the best example to take because you don't actually get libertarians getting into, like fake libertarians, should I say, LINOs, getting into power as a libertarian party that gets into government, whatever the fuck that is. Not a libertarian, essentially. But he's one example of one of these, basically a Catholic conservative, always spouting libertarian talking points and doing little minarchist things, shrinking government, which still means there's a government that is like fucking everyone over. There's those kind of LINOs. And then there's the fake libertarians, the LINOs, fake anarchists, who are just SJWs. You've got different kinds. You've got the ones that don't know that they're SJWs. You've got the ones that do know they're SJWs and think that's what anarchism is. So the latter are like ANCOMs and people who say, I'm a socialist libertarian or I'm a libertarian Democrat or something. You know, people like this are leftists who aren't libertarians, who think they can make libertarianism or anarchism into leftism, who think that the things they do as a socialist or a commie are something that they can put the stamp of libertarianism on, when in fact it's completely incompatible. You know, anarchy is capitalism. You can't be a libertarian if you advocate for government, like democracy, voting, elections and things. So these people are just leftists trying to be libertarians. Then you get like the conservative libertarian, people who call themselves conservative libertarians. Again, it doesn't make sense. You're hyphenating opposites. You can't be a libertarian and a conservative because a conservative by nature is a statist who wants a government, and a libertarian is someone who doesn't want a government. ANCOM, obviously, you can't be an anarcho-communist. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Or an anarcho-socialist, because socialist needs a state, a government, in order to function. And anarchism means absence of a state, absence of a ruler, no archon, no leader, no masters, no slaves. Whereas the socialist wants a slave master and needs a state in order to do all of its like top-down central planning, censorship, control of the public, you know, Antifa as their police force, that sort of thing. And then you've got the libertarians, the LINOs who don't know they're LINOs, like the people who don't claim to be conservatives and don't claim to be leftists, but they are either conservatives or leftists, while they call themselves ANCAPs or anarchists. So I've got two examples. One is the most popular, obvious one, is Eric July. Eric July does everything that a leftist does, and yet spends his time calling himself an ANCAP, spitting out libertarian talking points and ANCAP talking points, like you should do this, and I'm against, like, taxation is theft, and it's free trade to do this. But he doesn't practice what he preaches. He does the opposite. He's a complete SJW, leftist, social justice warrior. He can't take criticism. He actively bans people. He calls the police to get them involved in kicking people off his property. He calls things property violation when they're not, like someone giving him money. He deplatforms people off various sites that they need to do what they're doing. There's a whole litany of things that you can say about Eric July that prove that he is not an ANCAP. And there's less famous examples, or not even famous examples. There's a girl I talked to on Twitter who's got like ANCAP all over her profile. She's got like she's a trans, so I don't know if this is a he or a she, or if they want to be a he or a she, or biologically he or she. I think it's a biological male, basically doing the same thing as Eric July, except without the notoriety. They are getting triggered and offended like an SJW over speech and wanting to ban speech, but on their profile they've got like, I'm an ANCAP and stuff, but you give a differing opinion to them, like, I don't believe the word that you're using has been used in any other way other than leftist propaganda, and they're suddenly like, I want to censor you, I want to ban you. It's like, okay, well, that's another leftist thing. That thing on your profile that says you're an ANCAP, yeah, that's not true, is it? And then onto the more recent example, which goes along with the collectivism rant I had earlier. I was following a girl for quite a long time on Twitter called ANCAP Barbie, who is apparently not an ANCAP but is a collectivist and a feminist. And it kind of surprised me last night because she'd be saying all this based stuff and saying all this ANCAP stuff, like she believed in all this stuff like free trade and gun rights for all, and it seemed like she was believing in individualism and stuff. Maybe I just took that one as coming with part and parcel of all the other things she was discussing, as if it was just natural that she'd be an individual or individualist. But, you know, I don't know how long I had her on my Twitter friends for maybe a year, I think, along with some other similar people who she's following. And yeah, she just goes through saying pretty based ANCAP things. And let me try and find it. And then the other day she comes up with this one. She's criticising a meme. So she's found a rightist who posted this meme of, I don't know, it looks like the fall of Rome or something. There's like a Roman building on fire. And the meme from the rightist says, this is quite a common thing, "The worst mistake we ever made was to give white women the right to vote." I'm not sure about the white thing, but I mean, that's double identitarianism, that's double identity politics. There are a lot of people who think that women, like the gender of women, actual women, not trans women, is the problem in politics because they all act a certain way that is the same as each other but is different to males, and therefore that way will bring civilization down if you let them vote. And so men know how to vote and will make the correct decisions each time they vote. I mean, this is not interesting to me because like, imagine voting. Like, voting doesn't matter to me. But you know, that's a rightist viewpoint, quite a common one, I'd say. And she's so ANCAP Barbie, who I followed, comes along, who I followed up till yesterday, and she addresses. She's got apparently offended by this meme enough to reply to it as if it's something new that she's never seen before, whereas this take's just been going around with thousands of people. And her response is to see the identity politics of the rightist meme and address it by being also extreme in her own identity politics in the other direction, which is feminism. So the rightist goes, "Worst mistake we ever made was give white women the vote." And then ANCAP Barbie says, "Men created the Fed," as in the government and the state. "Men created the income tax. Men stole our freedom and destroyed the future. But it's women's fault for voting for them." She's put in as some sort of counterbalance point, which doesn't really work. And then she's like, "Sounds like men don't like to take accountability. This is identity politics. You're like playing sides, like there's women, there's men. They're like completely different mentally," which I don't agree. I agree they're different mentally in a slight way. I don't think they're completely different mentally. I think they have the opportunity and the ability, men and women, I don't know why I'm saying they, two groups in front of me, they're not even groups, are they? Two sets of people with different immutable characteristics in front of me. I think men and women have the ability to think like each other, to the point where I can just treat them as humans because they're how do you I've got to find a fucking stereotype now, which is embarrassing. You get boys who like playing with trucks and girls who like playing with trucks, and you got boys who like playing with dolls and girls who like playing with dolls, you know. So it's not all girls who play with dolls and it's not all boys who play with trucks. You know, this is all bullshit stuff that you have to kind of unpack with people who are like feminists and leftists and conservatives. who think like masculinity and femininity are useful terms, or they want to do things with those terms. But yeah, she's just going the opposite direction, and she's saying like, all men are this, all men. When you say men, the implication when you say men is that you're saying all men. All men are to blame for this thing. Yeah, it's implicit when you say women do X or men do X, that you mean all men or all women. And I said, okay, maybe there's some leeway here. Maybe don't you mean individuals? I started getting into it, talking to her, saying, like, I'm criticising what you're saying just as much as the person you're responding to. She didn't take it very well. I thought she'd take it very well, because a lot of libertarians do when you talk to them, but she didn't. I said, you mean individuals, right? And she comes out saying like, no, I really mean like all men created government and tax, and they stole all women's freedom and destroyed women's future. I'm like, what the fuck? And I pushed on her a little bit more, and she said, yeah, it's because of toxic masculinity. Which is just an outright fucking feminist far left buzzword that's been doing the rounds for years, and we've debunked it to death back as anti-SJWs in the era 2016 to 2019. And here she is in the future as an ANCAP, like a freedom advocate, like someone who's meant to be individualist against identity politics. She's saying, yeah, I believe in toxic masculinity. What of it? I'm like, what? And I was like, girl, do you really believe what you're saying? And I gave her like an opportunity to reconsider and pull out of what she said and realise that it's a bit crazy. And she's like, nah, I really believe this. And I'm like, girl, I misjudged you. I thought you weren't into identity politics, and it turns out you are. This is insane. I haven't really got time for you anymore. And I just, you can't persuade someone out of it if they think in terms of these insane socialist language control buzzwords and things that are meant to be propaganda used to demonize men and create identity politics categories of men and women who should always be at war. You will have a really hard time talking a leftist, which is what she is, out of that viewpoint, to the point where it's not even worth trying. We have tried for years to try and get conversation through to the far left, to persuade them out of their socialist viewpoints, and it really doesn't work. That gets super hard ingrained in the minds of these extremists, to the point where you can't really easily bring them out of it. And yeah, so that's yet another person I bumped into the other day who has libertarianism and ANCAP on the profile and spouts libertarianism and ANCAP talking points, but when you actually call them up on it and get down into what they really believe, it turns out that they're one extreme or the other of the authoritarian wings, all the way to the right or all the way to the left, which is they're essentially all statists. And she's claiming to be anti-statist, but she's pushing statist viewpoints, and it's like she doesn't even know. She must be, I don't want to say she's stupid. How do you... So I don't think I think she's been calling herself this name of something that she doesn't understand, and she hasn't actually learnt or comprehended the ideology enough to really understand what she was calling herself. Anyway, just thought I'd talk about that. And I've been stymied, how do you say it, by my GoPro overheating. I think it's now finally cooled down, but that got really hot just then. It turned itself off, and I was like, what? Why are you turning yourself off? Have you run out of battery? No. Picked it up, and it's like it's like a furnace. I put it on the roof of my car and like poured water on it from one of my bottles of water I brought with me. Those little cameras, they get so hot. It might be hard making videos when it gets to summer, because I'll only be able to make short videos unless I'm moving through windy places. God damn. So this video is going to be a bitch to edit, but hey, another ANCAP video for you there. I don't like the fake libertarians who are coming out of the woodwork There's too many of them. I'm not saying I want to do purity tests and defend the purity of the ideology, but I think you just have to have some things that are obvious to you if you're a freedom advocate. These are just things like you must be against the existence of a government. You must want all of the public to be fully armed. You must want to remove taxes. You must be individualist. You must be against anything that can take freedom away from people. You must be pro-property. All these things are part of what it takes to be a proper ANCAP or libertarian or voluntarist. And it's just strange seeing so many people attracted to the ideology we've fostered. I say we, there's no we. There's just like people like me who think in a similar direction because it's the right answer to the questions we've been facing in politics for so long. Give each person the right to govern themselves and defend themselves, earn their own money and keep that money. And it's like there are loads of people just attracted to that thing that we're saying, but in practice they don't know how to realise it. They don't know how to practice what they preach. Like, why is Eric July calling the police on people to ban them while saying he's against the state? Like, why are people doing shit like this when they're talking like they know what the ideology is, like they understand what they're reading and they're sharing that reading to other people, but they're not doing it. They're not actually doing the thing that they're telling other people to do and reading that they think it's attractive for themselves to do. I don't fucking understand it, guys, and it keeps happening. Anyway, catch you all later. This video is too long. See you later, folks. Thank you for watching.